All right, guys, let's get started. So today's webinar, SD-WAN and Beyond, Critical Capabilities for Successful WAN Transformation. We're very excited to have you all here. Before we get started, let's go over a couple housekeeping items. You're welcome to submit questions at any time using the chat window on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll follow up with you during our Q&A at the end. We'll also make a recording of this webcast available to you within a couple of days. Now it's my pleasure to introduce today's speakers, Dr. Jim Metzler and Ophir Agassi. Dr. Jim Metzler has worked in many positions in the networking industry and is now running the consulting organization Ashton, Metzler and Associates. He has written for numerous publications and is a frequent speaker at conferences and seminars. Ophir Agassi is Director of Product Marketing at Cato Networks with over 12 years of network security expertise in systems engineering, product management, and research and development. All right, and Jim, if you'd like, you can get us started now.
Bonnie, thank you so much. I do want to just point out what I see as the role of the WAN. And like every part of IT, business managers really don't care about IT. They care about business processes. They care about getting their job done. And I look at the role of the WAN in that context is to enable business operations in a frictionless manner. But that I mean very smooth, particularly as we transition from traditional business models to some of the emerging business models, whether that's the growing movement towards becoming a digital business. The role of the WAN is to enable both traditional business models as well as emerging business models, such as the movement to become a digital business, the growing reliance on mobile workers, and combating the ongoing, increasing, sophisticated security hacks they're also very aware of. And the role of an architecture is to enable that kind of seamless, frictionless movement from one business model to the other versus chasing one technology over here for this, one technology over there for that. That kind of multi-technology chasing after individual problems creates all kinds of complexity in the environment. Now, when I think about the evolution of the wired wide area network, Bonnie, we had a 20-year period with rapid deployment of various WAN technology, starting in the mid to late 80s with integrated time division multiplexing based WANs. Soon thereafter, frame relay, and an awful lot of organizations adopted frame relay. Not long after that, a number of organizations adopted asynchronous transfer mode, or ATM. But the last fundamentally new WAN technology for the wired WAN was around the year 2000 or the early 2000s with MPLS. Now that is in contrast to the wireless environment. We're seeing dramatic evolution. Let's just say 3G to 4G with 5G on the horizon. But also if I look back at that 20-year period, certainly the companies that I was working for in the mid to late 80s, we did our own wide area network. We installed those multiplexes and we did all the planning, designing, implementing, and management of that network. By the time we got to MPLS, larger and larger percentages of organizations were relying on either a managed service or primarily getting the service from a service provider. Now, I asked that same kind of survey question that, Bonnie, that you just asked. And I'm not terribly surprised that the top two answers that I got were the same as the top two that you got, which is security and cost. In both cases, security came out a little bit above cost. We have to be a little bit careful with this. The purpose of a question like this is not to give a definitive answer. It doesn't say security is absolutely the number one topic followed by cost. But it helps the people in the audience put their environment in a context. But again, it's really interesting to me that both surveys came out the exact same top two. Security, number one, followed closely by cost. The one surprise for me was in the survey you asked, providing access to public cloud computing was relatively low. I do see that in most of the work that I've been doing having increasing importance to organizations. Now let's talk about the two primary WAN services today, because most of that frame relay isn't there anymore, most of the ATM isn't there anymore. And Bonnie, for the most part, we have these two services, MPLS and the Internet. And I, in a different survey, asked people what their concerns were with those services. And you know, it's almost the polar opposite. You know, the number one concern with MPLS was cost. That was a very low concern with the Internet. Security was the number one concern with the Internet. That was relatively low with the with MPLS. One thing I do want to point out here, because part of the motivation here for new modes of wide area networking for all the interest in, say, software-defined WANs, is this vague word flexibility. Bonnie, it was a couple of days ago, I was looking through the service level agreement that Verizon, a major carrier, primarily in the US, but some international presence certainly, their SLA for managed internet services, and what they promise in terms of how long it would take them to get a new internet circuit in is 40 business days, which is 2 months. And you know, sometimes we struggle, what's it mean to be flexible or agile? But taking 2 months to get a new WAN circuit is a really good example of what it means to not be very flexible or not be very agile. Now, I also asked my survey group, how satisfied are you with your current WAN architecture? If you look at this, 6%, which is almost nobody, is completely satisfied, and 27% is very satisfied. Taken together, that says 1/3 of the audience that I was addressing is either very or completely satisfied with their WAN architecture. Looked at another way, 2/3 of organizations aren't very satisfied. And I think they're receptive to new ways of doing the wide area network, in part because it's been a long time since we've really had any new ways to look at the WAN. Again, MPLS, the last new fundamentally new WAN technology, it's about 15 years old. Now, one of the interesting things we have these days in terms of alternative WAN technologies, WAN services, is where should we locate the security, the control, the optimization? And I asked my survey base, you know, where do you think it makes sense to locate the functionality? And as you can tell from the survey results, I allowed more than one answer. And you can see here, one obvious observation is people are interested in having the functionality in a variety of places. That's not silly. It may be in some situations you want to host something in the cloud, other times you want to host something on premise. So you're seeing here that people are very receptive to a variety of places for where WAN functionality should be hosted, but certainly a strong interest in the cloud. But coming just back one from that, there's still an awful lot of interest in having functionality on premise. So in my mind, Bonnie, this is a work in progress. We're looking forward at all these emerging products and services, and they have a lot of different characteristics, and we're trying to figure out what makes the most sense for us in this new world of wide area networking. Analogously, I asked my survey base, hey, what's your favorite way, or do you think your organization will want to do going forward in terms of how you implement this? As I mentioned, the TDMs, time division multiplexing networks of the mid-'80s, were largely a do-it-yourself, DIY, do-it-yourself basis. And there's still a lot of interest in that. You know, just over half the people said, hey, that's going to be something that we're interested in. Almost as many are interested in a managed service. And the network as a service offering showed a lot of strength. Now, again, people may do this kind of implementation option choice in a variety of ways. It wouldn't be silly to have a company that's, let's just say, has a major presence in the UK, and they've got a good size network organization. They may take a DIY, do-it-yourself approach to networking in the UK, and then use a NAS approach, networking as a service approach, to the rest of the world. So this is not an either-or in any of these situations, and very often people take different approaches in different parts of the world based on a variety of different factors. But you know, Bonnie, since we have all these new ways of doing wide area networking, a whole spate of new products and services, I asked the audience, I asked my audience, how interested are you in new vendors? Or is this going to be, hey, you know, deal with your existing vendor, see what they have to offer you, and move forward? And there's a lot of that. If you look at the second and third bars here in the histogram, 27%, just over a quarter, said it's highly likely we'll stick with our incumbent vendors. 26% said it's likely we'll stick with our vendors. So there's certainly a sense of inertia here, and that shouldn't surprise anybody. But on the other hand, 22% will actively look for alternative vendors. 27% will put a moderate amount of effort. 13% is possible but unlikely we'll stick with our incumbent vendors. So I'm looking at these results in a very similar way to how I looked at the how much do you like your current architecture. A third of the companies like their current architecture. They're probably not going to change much. But 2/3 would like another architecture. In this case, you know, roughly half the organizations are pretty interested in staying with their existing vendors. The other half, not so much. So there's some potential here, Bonnie, for some real significant shifts in the marketplace in terms of architectures, technologies, and vendors. Now, I have to admit, this particular slide is something that's particularly important to me. I spent about 15 years of my career running networks for 2 Global 2000 companies. And the ability to effectively troubleshoot was always one of my most important considerations. And I say that because I did not court any favor with my boss by saying, gee, boss, we put in this new service. Boy, did we save money. Boy, are we flexible. But you know, when our company's critical applications aren't performing well, we have no idea why. That is not a good position for us to be in for our own career, for the role of the network organization, or quite frankly, for the company. So I asked my survey base, you know, how much WAN troubleshooting visibility do you have? 13%, that's roughly 1 in 7, said we have all the visibility we need to effectively troubleshoot problems. 1 in 7, Bonnie. That's not a tenable situation going forward. And I say that for 2 reasons. One is the opportunity. The opportunity is, as we're implementing new WAN products, services, new architectures, we need to make sure we're getting more WAN visibility going forward. That's the opportunity. The challenge, we have to make darn sure we're not going backwards and have even less visibility than we do today. Because it's tough to be a hero when you can't troubleshoot a problem, because we all know problems are real life and they will occur on a daily basis. Now, Bonnie, I've got just a couple more slides, and I want to talk just very briefly about the phrase SD-WAN, software-defined WAN. I take a very broad view of that phrase. To me, that's taking SDN concepts and applying them to the WAN. And by SDN concepts, you know, we think of things like separating control and forwarding, having programmatic interfaces, and ideally moving away from proprietary hardware and proprietary solutions in general. To me, the most common use case is branch office connectivity. And what I'm really emphasizing here is to some people, SD-WAN, that's all it means, you know, this kind of branch office solution. That's a very important solution. But again, I take a somewhat broader view that SD-WAN is applying SDN concepts to the WAN, and that this is a very important use case, branch office connectivity, but just one use case. And the most discussed part of the value proposition is to either reduce or cap the use of pretty expensive MPLS bandwidth and using more internet bandwidth. And that makes total sense because the way we typically are, a very effective way, Bonnie, of implementing a new technology is if we can get it in the door first, because we can show a hard dollar savings that justifies the deployment. But then once it's in the door, we get more functionality out of it that might have been softer. We get more flexibility. It's kind of a soft sell in terms of an ROI. So if we get it in the door on hard dollar savings, we then get to enjoy all the other benefits. And with that in mind, I asked that survey base of mine, what are the biggest drivers? Why is your company even interested in SD-WANs? And it's interesting, Bonnie, the survey question you gave and the survey question I gave, the second most important driver was reducing cost. Here, somewhat coincidentally, the second most important driver of SD-WAN is reducing operating expenses. Can I cut those MPLS bills and put in less expensive internet bandwidth? But again, it's only the second most important. In this case, increasing flexibility is more important. You can see if you look down the bottom, reducing CapEx, almost no one thinks that's a driver. And I think that makes perfect sense in the short run, because if you're going to put in a new piece of equipment, you're not saving any CapEx day one. You may, however, with some solutions, save CapEx over time. I'll also point out that my survey base was not terribly optimistic on providing better visibility. That's also down at the bottom. And that's a tremendous concern of mine, again, as someone who spent a long time running production networks.
All right, these are good things to know. Ophir, can you please take over?
Thank you, Bonnie, and thank you, Jim. Let's start. So I would like to take you through the Cato network solution, the problem that we solve, and how we address the SD-WAN capabilities. Before we start, I want to present or talk about the problem and why Cato is actually here. And the main or the most important thing or the mission that we've built this company was to actually simplify network and security. In the past, we had a clear network perimeter with all data centers, users, and all location. Actually, it was maybe one location or two, but it was firmly located in behind a firewall. Today, or these days, what we see is the dissolving network perimeter, where we have cloud networks, moving application to SaaS services, mobile users, people working on the go. And what we're saying here is that traditional network security appliances and the wide area network do not address the challenges that enterprises face today. And when we look on enterprises or how multi-site companies handle networking and security today, we see two main types of connectivity. The first one is appliance-based, where companies deploy multiple appliances around for each site. It's costly, it's very hard to manage, and they need to consider the appliance life cycle of management, upgrades, capacity constraints. But when they think about the WAN connectivity, it means that they are VPNing over the internet. That means that in many cases they suffer from high latency. The second part of organizations are the ones that use MPLS to backhaul traffic. So they connect all their branch offices over MPLS and exit through a main exit point with one big firewall when they manage all the security. The problem here is MPLS is expensive. It takes a long time to deploy MPLS in many cases, and those users behind those sites, they so let me just try to fix the sound here. Just 1 second. Is it better? Yeah. Okay. So trying to get over some sound issues. So companies that use MPLS to backhaul traffic basically have challenges when they face the evolving of the cloud, when they move more cloud applications, more applications to the cloud. Just backhauling the traffic doesn't make any sense. So, and then there's another problem when you need to connect those cloud data center. If it's IaaS or SaaS application, you need another point solution to control it and secure it. And even if you have all that, your mobile users just bypass all the network security that you have, and that require another point solution to manage that. So it's really become complicated. Solutions today just do not answer the need for all of that. So what can network security actually do for our customers? What's the solution that we've built? We came to realize that in order to simplify network and security, we need to change the architecture and the mindset and move all the technology and everything to the cloud in order to go back to the good old days where the network and the perimeter was clear to us. So what we're doing, we're connecting all the business elements, the headquarters, data centers, branch offices, cloud infrastructures, and mobile users to a single logical cloud network, where this network carries both the WAN and the internet traffic. Now, when all those business elements connect to the same network, and we have all the traffic consolidated from those sites and users in the cloud, we are running a full network security stack on that traffic. And it allows us to manage a single policy for all our users and locations wherever they are. So it actually simplifies the way we do IT, the way we manage networking, and the way we manage security. So how did we do that? We started off by building a wide global network of POPs, point of presence. Each of our POPs are software-based. There are no appliances. It's all built on out-of-the-shelf servers that's running the Cato software. We wrote everything from scratch, from the ground up. It was adapted and created for a cloud, agile, fast environment. And those POP are connected between themselves, what we call interconnection, with the tier 1 service providers. So we control the middle mile, and our POPs are using the fastest available channel. Now, those POPs run the software that actually controls the routing, it optimizes the connection, and we have a full network security stack built into our POPs. So next generation firewall, secure web gateways, and a lot of more advanced threat prevention capabilities are already built into the network or into the Cato cloud. It actually takes off all the headache and problem that appliance-based security appliances has, that customers need to manage the patching, upgrades, or capacity planning. We're taking all this burden off our customers, and we manage it for them in the cloud. Now we are just connecting all the business elements, the data center, branches, and mobile users. All of them are connected to the nearest POP. We have a global spread. We're actually spread all over the world. And those business elements connect to the to the closest Cato POP available to them. And then traffic routes over the WAN between those business elements in a SLA-backed backbone, the Cato backbone. Last is our unified management. This is a multi-tenant environment that each one of our customers get his own environment and a policy to manage. You get full visibility to all network activities and everything that happens in your network. This new architecture actually changed the way organizations create their WAN and connect their business elements. You don't need to deploy appliances anymore. You just connect your branches, your users to the Cato cloud. And security-wise, you get an enterprise-grade security built into the cloud for each one of your elements. So you don't need to compromise on any security in remote locations where sometimes budget can make you buy something less than what you actually need. So I want to share two use cases or two case studies of customers that already moved to the Cato platform and changed the way they think. They actually moved from, the first one is a Dutch electrical engineering company called Alec Winter, and they are based in Netherlands, Romania, Vietnam, and they have more than 22 sites around the world. And what they did, they actually backhaul traffic over MPLS and remote sites backhaul traffic over VPN into a single exit point to their data center where they had their firewall. They have what they call critical capabilities or critical application, which are latency sensitive, like video streaming, their video conferences, and they all use Citrix VDI. This is a very crucial for their business, and they wanted to avoid deploying a firewall at each location, but they wanted also to exit the internet at each location. They wanted secure direct internet access. So after connecting their business to Cato, they were able to eliminate the MPLS, since the Cato backbone offer an MPLS-like latency or guaranteed latency. They were now able to connect all their sites to Cato and deliver their application SLA or performance, the required performance, using Cato. They were also able to provide direct internet access for all sites while avoiding appliances and firewalls at each site. The second customer is an ad tech company called Spotted, and this is actually a very unique use case because they're very cloud oriented. Most of their infrastructure is placed in AWS. They have multiple VPCs around the world, and their developers need to connect to each one of those environments in AWS, which is very challenging. It requires multiple VPN connections. It required to manage a lot of resources, and it was really complex for them. So how do I simplify the DevOps, the connectivity for my developers, and at the same time, I also want data center to data center access. How do I securely connect those AWS instances? So what they did, they placed a virtual version of what we call the Cato socket, which is a lightweight tunneling device, and they just connected all those AWS instances to the Cato cloud, and all their users, wherever they are in the world, are they have a single connection to Cato cloud, to the Cato cloud. So when they access each one of those cloud AWS resources, they have a single connection, a single network to join. It's secure, and they get full visibility to everything that happens in their network. So we talked about the Cato architecture and how what we do and how we are changing the way organizations are managing both networking and security. But now I want to drill down into one of the crucial capabilities that we provide, which is secure and optimized SD-WAN. And we talked already in this webinar about the complexity of our organization, what they had in the past, but we see two options, right? They can either choose MPLS-based WAN, which is guaranteed high availability but cost a lot, or they can choose the internet for their WAN, which is low cost, but there is no SLA, no guarantee on latency, packet loss, and so on. So out of that complexity, which ideally companies want an affordable, high-quality network, evolved the SD-WAN. And Jim already spoke about SD-WAN, but the essence of it is to improve WAN capacity, agility, and availability by connecting multiple transport, or for example, MPLS, internet, 3G or LTE, 4G or LTE, and create kind of an overlay, virtual overlay that aggregates all underlying transport. So the SD-WAN being managed from the cloud has a visibility to all the network, and based on policy can route applications and data from one side to the other on the most available transport type. It's at the end of the day, SD-WAN was created to simplify WAN management. I don't need to manage each one of the sites to say which application go on which channel and so on. I just create a single central policy of my business important application, latency sensitive application. I choose the channel, and the SD-WAN make sure that traffic goes end-to-end on the best route available. What SD-WAN, or what we call traditional SD-WAN, do not provide is there is no built-in network security in SD-WAN, in other SD-WAN today, meaning that you need to use a third-party solution in order to provide direct internet access from those sites, or you need to somehow to go to a kind of virtual DMZ somewhere and protect it over there with another third-party solution. SD-WAN, when they connect internet transport over the internet, they do not guarantee the middle mile. There is no SLA, and basically latency cannot be guaranteed, and it's, the internet routing is unpredictable. So it's a big challenge in many cases. It means that the MPLS must be kept for latency sensitive application. SD-WAN do not handle well mobile and cloud integration, connecting SaaS application, IaaS or application like IaaS environment like AWS. It's mostly focused on the branch. In Cato, and we already described the way our environment works, but we fully support the basic SD-WAN capabilities. And we add additional functionality that makes our SD-WAN a full solution that allows you to converge a lot of the security and networking solution that you already have in your network. So first of all, we expand the WAN capacity. Using the Cato socket, we're allowing to connect MPLS, internet, LTE connection, and by that augmenting the network, augmenting the WAN. So availability and resiliency improved tremendously with Cato as we manage multiple ISPs connections. We can work in active-active, and forward error correction is handling a packet drop on the last mile. So we're actually improving the last mile, and we support, and in a second I'll also talk about the middle mile, but you already see that we support the basic SD-WAN capabilities. On top of that, we have policy-based routing that allows you from a cloud-based management, a central location, to manage your application type, which one should go on the MPLS, which one are higher priority. For example, video and voice streaming should go on MPLS, and email and other applications should go over the internet, which in our case goes over the Cato network, which I'll elaborate in a few seconds. Our policy-based routing allows you, A, to control the application, and B, to control the link based on its quality and availability at every moment of time. So this is the basic SD-WAN that I think all SD-WAN companies will talk about today. The second part is, and this is the Cato advantage over our any vendor in the market, is that we provide integrated, secure, direct internet access. It allows you to eliminate third-party solution and eliminate appliances. So every site connected to Cato will be able to exit directly to the internet without the need to backhaul traffic. On top of that, as I mentioned before, our POPs are interconnected with SLA-backed global backbone. That means that we control the latency and we guarantee the latency over the middle mile. It's super important for applications that are more sensitive. And think about cases where the MPLS drops and you need to route your video streaming, your conference call over the internet. You want to be sure the quality is also guaranteed on the middle mile. So that's a big advantage, built-in security and SLA-backed global backbone that can guarantee latency. On top of that, as I mentioned earlier, Cato connects any cloud-based environment, Amazon, AWS, Microsoft Azure can be connected to the same manner to the Cato Cloud, allow you to manage single security policy and have full visibility from a single place on any connection happen to any AWS environment, VPC, wherever it is in the world. And last are the mobile users. When mobile users on the go, wherever they are in the world, they connect to their closest POP, Cato POP, and they get optimized connectivity to the WAN. Think about your traveling users connecting for different countries, and they need to read emails. They need to connect the data center for any kind of business application. They get an MPLS-like experience when they connect to the Cato network. So I want to show you a quick demo of our environment. Just for this webinar, a dedicated environment. And this is kind of illustration of how this environment looks like. We have an office in California and another one in Germany. And they're connected with two links. One of them is the MPLS, and another one is a single ISP that connects them to the Cato Cloud. So I'm going to show you how it looks when I connect with an RDP to the branch office in California, and I'm trying to access business resources located in the data centers in Germany. And I will also show you how it looks like when I try to browse the internet. What security capabilities are already built into the network. So let's start off by showing how our management looks like. This is the Cato cloud-based management. You can see that I'm connecting to the Frankfurt site, and I'm going to show you first the SD-WAN configuration. You can see that I can manage the links. I can decide which socket connects to where. And so you see I have one primary DSL connection and I have one MPLS. At the bottom you can see the application policies. One voice and video gets priority 1 and files and data are priority 2, but both of them are moving over the MPLS. This is my policy. When I go into the demo environment, I'm playing a video right now. This is high definition video, and my policy says that video goes over the MPLS, so you can see the illustration that this is how it goes. When I go back to the logs, to the events, I can actually show you that since our policy says video goes on MPLS, we can see the blue, which is the MPLS connection. All the traffic goes over the MPLS. This is our policy. So the second demo is about availability. I'm playing a video. Our policy says MPLS, and I'm turning the video off. I'm turning the MPLS off. So I drop the MPLS connection, and automatically all the connections are now moving from the MPLS to over Cato. And when we go back to the logs, we can see the drop that traffic started over the MPLS, the blue line, and when the MPLS dropped, automatically everything moved to Cato while the movie kept playing without any interference. Last is MPLS augmentation. I'm playing in this scenario two high definition videos, and we can see that the MPLS, since it's expensive, a link, I only have 2 megs, so it means that I need to augment and move some of the traffic to Cato. So we can see that it started off on everything on the MPLS, but at some point the MPLS was full, and the traffic moved between Cato to the MPLS, and the Cato automatically managed that. The next demo that I would like to show you is our secure or our built-in security stack. What I'm showing here is that our site, my machine that is located behind the Cato security, tries to browse to a gambling site, and on this scenario, I'm trying to download a malicious file over HTTPS. So I have full TLS inspection built into the platform. When I go into our analytics and watch the events, you can see that Cato blocked A, the gambling site, and B, the download of this malicious document. This is a kind of a simple scenarios, but you can understand the capabilities that we have here. So you can define per site, per user on your security policy from a single place, and wherever they are in the world, they're exiting securely to the internet. So to summarize our SD-WAN capabilities and the whole Cato offering, we have a core SD-WAN that allows you to augment and improve the resiliency and capacity of your WAN. At the same time, Cato offers unique capabilities, and our advantage is that on top of our SD-WAN basic functionality, we allow secure internet access from every location. We control the middle mile, meaning that we have end-to-end improved link over the internet. So instead of just opening VPN connection over the internet, we improve the last mile with active-active and forward error correction, and we control the middle mile, the latency on the middle mile. We connect mobile users and cloud application to a single cloud environment, single policy, single management, and single place to see and control your network. And these are all the Cato advantages and capabilities of SD-WAN, our advanced SD-WAN. I would like to take you, this is actually kind of wrapping up our session for today, and I want to show you what makes Cato really unique. It's our ability to converge a lot of third-party or point solution in your network. And when you think about Cato, first thing that we provide is the built-in security in our cloud network. So it allows you to eliminate as your secure web gateway. Second, we are allowing you to eliminate, or we're allowing you to reduce the use of your MPLS network. It's already built into our product, allowing you to route traffic through the Cato backbone. Third, we're allowing you to eliminate firewalls, UTMs, and VPN edge devices. You don't need that anymore. No more headache and capacity planning and sizing and maintenance of your appliances. You don't need them anymore. The fourth product that we are eliminating, or actually allowing you to do, is the SD-WAN. We have full SD-WAN capabilities built into the product. And last, or the fifth capability, is a CASB-like functionality, allowing you to connect SaaS and cloud data centers, and in addition to mobile users, all managed and controlled from a single location. And this is the key element, or the key spice to the Cato environment.
Thank you, Ophir. And first, I just want to thank both Ophir and Jim for a great presentation. And we are going to get going into the Q&A session. While that's happening, we have a poll question for you guys. And feel free to answer while the Q&A is going on. Would you be interested in a free estimate of your networking and security cost reduction using Cato? Okay, and I'm happy to say we have a lot of great questions. We're going to start with a couple now. First, Jim, these look like they're directed towards you. what is the extent of the cost reduction achieved by SD-WAN deployments?
And the answer is it depends. And somewhat of a cute comment, but obviously one of the chief savings when we think about ROI is the savings in bandwidth. And bandwidth costs for MPLS and the internet vary country by country. And if I look at a large country like the United States where I live, it varies within the country. But having said that, let's just give some examples. Now let's assume that a given company is spending $350 US a month for a T1 or an E1 access line to MPLS. And that they've got, again, this is just a made-up example, Bonnie, 100 branch offices, and they've got 2 T1s or E1s out of each office. Well, if on a going forward basis they implement a software-defined WAN, and if they can take out one of those T1 E1s and replace it with, let's say, 10 meg business internet service, and again, the costs vary, let's say $50 a month, well, Bonnie, they're saving this, which seems like a small little amount, $300 a month. Well, $300 a month times 12 months is $3,600. Over the 100 branch offices, that's $360,000. And over a 3-year life cycle, there's just over $1 million, US. Now, how much it costs for the solution itself? Most likely a lot less than $360,000. You get a 1-year payback. And whatever metrics you use, internal rate of return of whatever, it would be very, very high, 40, 60, 80% in that kind of an example. And I think, as I said in one of my slides, that's typically what we think about for the value proposition, because it's very quantifiable, relatively easy to do. But as we've talked about during the entire webinar, that's not the only reason you do a software-defined WAN. You definitely can reduce the number of point solutions you have out there. Now, in the short term, that's not going to have any great financial savings. If you've already paid for those devices, you don't necessarily get that money back. But over time, you don't upgrade those. So you save money day one on some of the WAN bandwidth we discussed. Over time, you'll save more capital dollars on the point solutions you're not buying. And it significantly also simplifies configuration and management and complexity, which also saves you over time. So I think a broad ROI would look at a number of factors. Certainly the hardcore, very well-defined dollar savings associated with switching bandwidth from MPLS to the internet. But there are other factors that, at least for some companies, are going to be almost, if not just as important.
Okay, thanks. Before we continue with the Q&A session, I want to share a special offer just for this webinar. If you'd like a free pilot that can get you on board with SD-WAN within 24 hours, and keep in mind the POC can be done on some or all of your sites, whatever you'd like, please submit your answer now. Okay, great. And I just want to say you guys have a lot of great questions. Unfortunately, we're running very short on time, so we have time for just one more. Ophir, this is a good one for you. How are you, Cato Networks, different than other SD-WAN solutions?
So I think the essence or the main difference is our ability to converge many point solutions in the network, allowing you to get rid of your point appliances. So at every branch, if you have a security appliance, you can just eliminate them. It allows you to augment your to augment the MPLS, connecting multiple WAN channels, internet, 3G, and so on, 4G, and so on. And it actually allows you to connect multiple point solution infrastructures like AWS, SaaS, and mobile users. And I talked about it a lot in my session. And this is a big advantage, and it's a key challenge for many companies that I've been talking to. They have too many solutions, and we saw on your answers that you have, I think the average was between 5 to 10 solutions just to handle mobility, WAN, and security. So that's a lot of headache for the IT to manage that, to control that, and how do you know that everything is working? How do you troubleshoot? We spoke about that quite a lot. So I think this is one of the biggest advantages, the ability to use a single solution for everything, starting from your network, your WAN connectivity, your security, and so on.
Okay, great. And everybody else that asked questions we weren't able to get to, we'll be sure to get back to each one of you directly. And just want to say thank you all again for joining, and we'll be getting you a recording of this webinar in just a couple of days. We look forward to seeing you at our next one. Thanks, everybody.